What's happening, everybody? It's Matthew here. In today's video, I'm going to talk about the 5 key lessons that I learned when I lost over $100,000 on my first real estate investment. Now, I know normally on YouTube, most people just talk about the great things that they're doing, how they're making money. They never talk about the bad, but I wanted to be real with you guys on this channel, as I said before. So I'm going to talk about, probably one of the worst investment decisions that I made. I'm going to talk about the lessons that I learned from it, so hopefully you avoid that same mistake that I made. Make sure you stick around to the end of the video where I'm going to go over how I lost that money and what we're planning to do moving forward. So let's get right into it. Lesson 1, use a professional real estate investing focused realtor when making your purchases. So for this first property, I didn't use a realtor. I did a private deal. There was some benefits to it. I did save some money because we didn't have realtor cost. However, I was dealing with someone who was a little bit more experienced than I was. I wasn't as confident as I should have been, obviously, because it was my first investment. So I wasn't asking the right questions. So make sure that you're using a professional real estate investing focused realtor, especially on your first deal. Maybe when you get more experience, you might not need that person anymore. But for your first deal, use that person. I wish I did. Probably would have saved me a lot of headache. Lesson number 2 is invest in an area with great market fundamentals. Because this city that I was investing in was really dependent on oil and gas, even though on paper it looked good, the cash flow was through the roof. This city, the values of real estate were going up by double digits every year. It seemed like a home run of a deal. Because the city was so dependent on one industry, oil and gas, when the value of oil dropped down and tanked, this is something that I didn't see coming, and it had a huge impact on the value of our property, cost us a lot of money. So the lesson that I learned from that is to make sure when you're investing in an area, it has multiple industries that are funding that area. You've got big companies in that area who are supplying lots of employment. This is going to help make sure that you're not dependent on one industry, so if things go wrong there, you still have other industries that are supporting that city and town, which will help hedge against you losing money on that real estate investment. So the third main lesson that I learned is to make sure you run a stress test on your properties before you buy them. So a lot of people know what a stress test is because it's what banks do before they let you qualify for a mortgage. Basically, they're seeing if you would be able to make the payments if interest rates shot up. So they're going to run a stress test on a higher interest rate to see if you could still afford it. So when you're buying an investment property, you should probably take that same strategy for your own investments because the banks know how to make money. So some questions that you should ask yourself when running a stress test is, what if interest rates go up? What if vacancy rates shoot up in the town that you invest in? What if rental prices drop? Can you still cash flow with that property? What if market prices drop? Did you buy it at a good enough price so you can handle a little bit of loss? And finally, do you have a buffer built in to handle any large expenses that you didn't expect, like a roof, a furnace? Any of these things can have a big impact on your cash flow, so stress testing and making sure that you're covered in that is very important. Lesson number 4, be flexible and keep up to date with market prices, rent prices. You need to be knowledgeable of the area you're investing in. Even though the prices of rents were dropping in our town and vacancy rates were shooting up, because I was staying flexible, because I was keeping on top of the movements in the market, even though we had double-digit vacancies, we never actually had a vacancy in our property. We kept up with the rent rates. We made sure that we were pricing things competitively. With some of our best tenants that we had, we made sure that we dropped rents. It sucks to drop rents when you're used to getting $1,500 and you got to drop it down to $1,200, but it allowed us to keep good people in our properties. So even though crap was hitting the fan in this town we were investing in, we were able to weather the storm, keep our property full, and keep rents coming in. And finally, and most importantly, the world doesn't end just because you do a bad deal. We could have used this bad experience to turn us away from real estate, to stop us from investing, to be too scared to move forward, but we didn't. And if we had, we would have missed out on millions of dollars of profit that we've made since then on purchases that we've made after that. So we just use this experience to get better, to buy better investments, to use some of these lessons to make sure we didn't make the same mistake going forward. So don't freak out if you have a bad deal on your first, second, third investment. It happens to the best of us. Just keep moving forward. Use it as a learning experience because you never know. Sometimes something that turns into a bad deal, if you can hold on to it, keep paying your mortgage off, keep doing good things, it could actually turn into a good deal years down the road. Okay, so here's how we lost $100,000 on this deal, and here's what we're gonna do going forward. So we bought this property at $720,000. recent appraised value is $620,000. So on paper, we've lost $100,000 if we were to sell this property today. Our plan going forward for this is we're gonna hold on to it for a little while longer. We were lucky enough that when we refinanced the mortgage on this property, we actually got a 1.65% interest rate. So basically free money. You really hard to get lower interest rate than that. So we got a killer deal on it. So this property is fully rented, and each year at the end of the year, our mortgage pay down because of that low interest rate is $31,000 a year. So the plan is we're gonna hold on to this for 3, 4, maybe 5 years. In 5 years, we're gonna actually pay down $150,000 worth of this mortgage. So there's a good buffer built in that if we do sell it at that point, we've paid down enough of the mortgage that there's some equity built in, so we might actually make a good profit on this. The other option is that we could hold onto this property for 10, 15 years, and at that point, we'll actually have the whole mortgage paid off. So then we'll just have a cash flowing property with some equity built in, and we can kind of sit on that and just collect the cash flow. I don't know, live on a beach, do something like that. So we got options at least. So because there was a good amount of cash flow built in when we bought this property, and we've been flexible, we've learned some lessons, this could end up turning out to be a great deal in the end. I'll keep you posted and let you know what happens. So there you have it, 5 key lessons that we learned when we lost $100,000 on our first property. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed today's video and took a few things away so you're not gonna make the same mistake I did. Leave a comment down below and I'll be sure to answer your questions down there. Give this video a thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe because we've got some great videos in the future, and I'll see you next Tuesday.